Alrighty, welcome back. We're now ready to put together a bill of materials for an assemblage set of drawings or for a construction set of documents. What this does, it gives us basically a table of contents to work with. And the nice thing about using SolidWorks is it does a lot of the work for us. So what we're going to do is we come onto our sheet here, and we're going to use our exploded view because that's the one that's the easiest one to label. And I'm going to go ahead and right click onto that. And I'm going to get two things to happen there. One is my view modification box shows up, but so does a pop-out menu that gives me some more options. And the option that I want to select is down here under Tables. I want to select Bill of Materials. So let's go ahead and pick the Bill of Materials from this. And the Bill of Materials is now calculating everything in the view that I had selected, and it's assigning it a number. So once it's gone through that, I can look through and say, okay, what things would I like to change? I can change the numbering starting position and work that around, but it's a little easier to work with it with the table in place. So let's go ahead and hit the green check mark, and if I slide over, there's my bill of materials. Now the bill of materials can go into two positions. First position is up here at the top right hand side of the page and sits right in there just inside your border. That would be a proper location for that. Okay, with the table the bill of materials in this position, that would mean then that my revision table would go below. So let's go ahead and bring a revision table in. Revision tables keep track of any time we have made a change to the drawing and a modification to it. So again, we go down, right click on the view. Let me repeat that again for you. Right click in the view we're working with. It's then bring up the drawing view properties, go down to tables, and select revision table. Now that table is a little bit different. So under the revision table we can choose to use circles, triangles, squares, or hexagons. Circles tends to be the more common one, but you have that at your discretion to which ones to use. And I'm just going to hit the green check mark again, and when I bring that in, I think I lost my revision table. Let's hit the wrong button. Let me bring that again. Table. I lost it completely. That's not very good. Okay, and in looking at the drawing, we didn't really lose it, we've used it. And what it's done is, if I look over here on my sheet, I see that there's a revision table now added to my views. And if I look carefully at where my bill of materials are located, it is superimposed or underimposed on that. So let me just move my bill of materials down here, and there is my revision table. Now both of these tables can be edited similar like a spreadsheet. Let me go ahead and grab this, and if I move this down to the title block position and my bill of materials back up into position 1, this would be a standard layout for bill of materials in the upper right hand corner, revisions at the bottom. The only issue here is that the revision table is going to start putting text down the title block. So if a revision table is required, we need to flip the direction of both of these and their position. So that means that the revision table goes into position 1. So we'll just do a little jog here of these two. And the bill of materials goes into position 2, right down here above the title block. Let's go ahead and dock those into the proper location, and they do seat into that very nicely in SolidWorks. And the only thing here now is what happens if I add another part to my assembly. There's no room below my bill of materials. Let's take a look at that a little bit better, because we see that SolidWorks has gone through and numbered each part in the order in which they were put into the assembly and given the quantity of each of those. So if I go ahead and select my edit button on here, I can come in and I can modify how everything is oriented in my sheet. So let's go ahead and take a look at the bill of materials properties real quick. So I'm going to go unselect the bill of materials, right click, and look at my options. Now if I go in here and I look at my menu, the bill of materials has a few things that can happen to it. I can go ahead and hide the table completely so it's not visible anymore. I can delete it out. I can change the items. I can show the items, and I can customize that menu. What I want to do is flip everything over. And so we're looking at the way it's structured in the order. So let's go to column properties. So in order to get this, I select on the bill of materials, I come across and over, and I've got to be in the right spot at the right time. You got to kind of get right here in the gray area, and let's see if I can get that properties to come out. So let's do that one more time. I select the bill of materials, and then come over here to the gray area where the move icon is. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to come down to sorting. Okay, so in sort tells you that I'm going to organize. I don't want to change the sort, but I want to look at the format. I can change the width of the columns. I can change the row height. I can lock those columns so they stay the same way. I can change its anchor parts. I can come up here again. I can insert. I can look at my commands. But what I'm looking at is when the bill of materials table positions occur, what I can use with that. So let's take a look real quick down here. I can change its anchor point. Right now it is anchoring in the upper left hand corner. I can make that the bottom right hand corner, which will put it over here by my title block, which might be a little bit easier to work with. The bill of materials is the top level only, so it's showing anything that has a priority 1 or top level allowance. It could be just parts and no fasteners, or it could be indented and worked that way. The other thing I can look at is the configuration. Right now the configuration is set that it is going in a pretty sequential order, 1, 2, and then down to 6. It's starting at number 1 as I work through there, and it's keeping that order. Now I can also have it label in the bill of materials in the same order, and that's usually what I want to have happen, is that it follows that order, so that when I label parts, then they show up correctly. Now when I look at these settings, what I want to do is be able to put them in a reverse order, and so I'm going to put the top on the bottom and the bottom on the top. Let's go and look at our sorting options on there a little better. So I'm going to check this off, and when I check on it again, there's my anchor point, and I look through my icon that comes along here. Now in that icon it shows that the table header is on the top. If I click on that, I just moved it to the bottom. So this table header is a toggle from the top to the bottom, which means that if I add more parts, my list will go up. So now I start with 1 on the bottom, 6 on the top, which is a proper orientation for this when it's above the title block. When it's in the upper right hand corner, it will be reverse of this. So let's spend some time and work through that and get used to adjusting those. We go ahead and click off of that. And so now my parts are in here. I can also add a note that says that this bolt, and give it size for it, because then I don't have to worry about the wrong thing being labeled at some point, because typically the bolt is going to be a purchased item. And so this bolt that I'm going to use here, let's just put in some size for it. This is a 3/8 inch bolt, and I'd want to get that labeled out properly on that, so it's going to be on my noting on there. Let's go with a 3/8 inch, which is going to be in fraction form, is be 0.375 in decimal, and I'm going to put that as see, that's an external thread on there, so that's going to be a 1B. Get my numbers right. Oops, cap locks on that. 1B. Type them up here, and it's going to be let's do a 16 UNC for the threading on there. As an example, we can now put that into our table of contents, so it's labeled on there, and that's an example. Now again, check with your instructor as to what your bolt that should be used on your file is going to be, and fill out your title block appropriately. You can put in here the materials that things will be made out of, as well as what manufacturers can be used. Okay, so let's go ahead and get your table of contents and revision blocks in the correct port, and then we'll come back and label our parts.